snacks.
What it do, snackers and snackettes? It's your boy Gage. This is the homie Jokes.
Yo.
This is Loading Snacks Weekly.
Yes, sir.
Where we get together once a week, talk about things that are happening in pop culture. We got a couple things we need to cover today.
Just a couple things.
We're going to talk about Mortal Kombat 11.
Woo! 11.
We are going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the new Broly movie being in theaters.
Yes.
We're going to talk about that. So that'll be after the break. And then a little something special just after the main show is over for the Patreon supporters. We'll talk about some things that are happening with Netflix. You ready to get it started?
Let's get this started.
Let's get it going. Mortal Kombat 11. You know what? I'm going to let you just go first. Just tell me how you feel having watched the reveal and all of that.
I feel good. I mean,
Okay.
Mortal Kombat, last few years I've been pretty much all in Mortal Kombat.
Okay.
I like what we've seen. Well, we only got a glimpse of a few characters, 7 characters. But typical, most of them were your typical ones, your Scorpions, your Sub-Zeros, and Raiden. Couple new faces to the mix, couple returning faces. We got some new configurations or whatever you want to play mechanics, whatever you want to call it, that are interesting. We got Ronda Rousey
Playing Sonya.
Voicing
Sonya.
So I mean, we saw a lot. It seemed like it was only a little bit that we got, but it was a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. There's a lot left to be revealed in the next couple of months. Because the release date is April 23rd, and that's gonna be here.
That's gonna come quick.
Yeah, that's gonna be a problem. I have a bad feeling it's gonna be like this same week as Endgame. Cause we know Endgame is April, but we don't have a date yet.
I thought they put the date on it.
I didn't see a date. Did you see a date?
I swear I did.
Then swear to me what it is.
I don't remember, but I
Swear to me. Batman's whack. My fault. Anyway.
Oh well, Coop.
Yeah, I feel like they, having only shown us the first, technically we know about more characters, right? So they showed us 7 characters. 7 characters were revealed and technically were playable. We saw Baraka come back.
Yeah!
That's crazy. We haven't seen him since what? Mortal Kombat 2? Crazy. We saw Sonya, of course. We got Scarlet back from who was a DLC character from MK9. So what's crazy about that is that there are a lot of people who, even if they had MK9, if they didn't either buy the
DLC initially or like the whole bundle game of it, you never played her.
Yeah, they don't even know who she is. So I think that's kind of interesting. But I love that they brought her back. We got to see Barris, who is a new character. Character of color. Garrus. You're right. Time manipulation skills. He might be a problem.
He's gonna be a problem.
The version that they showed of him, again, just like in Mortal Kombat 10 and MKX, you have 3 versions of each character, right? But they're made so you have more control over the design of each of those characters. You can do with
each one of them.
So you can do different builds and build them in different ways. And the one that we saw of him seemed more like a grappler. Kind of heavy, big, slower, but in watching the reveal in the live stream, there are definitely versions of him that can be played from a distance. It's gonna be really interesting how he plays out. So Ronda Rousey, I don't know if this was a slip, but she mentioned Kano.
She did.
She mentioned Kano. She said that she got to do a Hurricane Rana on Triple H, and she used Triple H as her Kano. I don't know what that means, but maybe Kano's in this game.
Maybe he's in this game.
We get to see Liu Kang.
We do.
We didn't see him playable, but we did see him in a cutscene. A young version of him. And this game supposedly deals with time travel. Clearly this game deals with time travel.
Clearly.
Because the prologue that they showed, supposedly, according to what Ed Boon said, takes place right after MK9. But the game is supposed to be right after the events of MK10.
Yep.
So And then we were introduced to this character, Kronika, who looks to also have some ability to manipulate time and things like that. And apparently, according to Ed Boon, has been manipulating things in the background from the very beginning of MK up until Raiden interferes and gets in the way.
Raiden.
Yeah. So we also do have a moment in one of the trailers where you hear her say to Liu Kang, "Oh, Liu Kang, like you made the wrong choice again," or something like that, right? So there is definitely some time travel or something like that.
Oh, it's going to go down.
But let's talk about some of the mechanics. So what mechanics did you see that you were excited about?
So I liked one, how we separated what used to be pretty much like the special meter.
Yeah. And
we broke it down into offensive and defensive. Which I think is pretty cool. Seeing as that you can kind of tailor it to your style. So if you're the type of person that's offensive, you know, you're probably going to use the offensive meter a lot. But the defensive, depending on the type of moves, certain things that you want to pull off, you kind of have to build around these two separate gauges versus, hey, this is your 1 meter, you're going to use it for your special, you're going to use it for your X-ray, which doesn't exist now anymore. And you kind of have to kind of work around that.
Yeah, it's interesting to me in what we saw, the gameplay that we saw, both the offensive and defensive meter, one runs vertical, one runs horizontal, and they were both full when you start the match. But I don't know if it's going to be that way and you have to build
up to it
or not. And I only say that because the time in the matches also appeared to be fixed. Like I think it was stuck at 60. I don't remember the time ticking down at all. So it's quite possible that in this build, or at least in what they showed, that it's full.
It was just full, so they could just demonstrate and show everybody what was going to be going on.
Could be that you have to build it before you get to do any of that kind of stuff in the first place. But you did mention that X-rays are gone, but they're kind of still there. So X-rays, like seeing people's bones break during the fight, still happens depending on the kind of moves that you pull off. There's now a perfect block, so if you time your block perfectly, it kind of opens you up to be able to pull off combos. Combos are apparently less of a thing. I mean, they're still a thing, obviously, but they're combos. Yeah, but they're not like how at one point, like in MK3, they went to like these 10 hits.
Yeah, you can just juggle and just keep going. And
but you now have these fatal blows, which once your health bar gets down to 30%. It activates your ability to use a fatal blow, which basically looks like it uses the same button combination as what your X-rays did. Does the same kind of thing, goes into an animation that does an enormous amount of damage to the enemy if you can pull it off, but it's also on sort of like a timer or meter of its own. So if you miss it when you try to pull it off, you will get the opportunity again as long as your health meter is still below that amount. However, it's on a timer before you'll get a chance to try it again. So that I think is going to add an interesting change to the way that people are playing the game and things that could happen as you get towards the end of the game. So that's pretty cool. We got to see a lot of fatalities.
A lot of fatalities.
A lot of fatalities. Like they showed us like 2 up front, right? So we saw Scarlet's, and we saw Baraka's. But then they did a montage
of everybody's, or at least the 7, at least the ones.
Yeah, and let me tell you something. When you start to feel like there's nothing left that they can do, like you have to be out of ideas.
Nope, not at all.
There are fatalities. Scorpion had the one fatality where he hit him with the spear, and the spear was like hot fire, and he jumped over and went through the ground, came back up on the other side,
split him in 2.
Yeah, I'm all about that joint, man. Like I don't know, man. Like this definitely, it's a thing. It's a thing. I'm like super amped for this game. We know that there's going to be the first like live stream in 2 weeks.
Yep.
So I'm sure we'll get some more characters revealed.
Absolutely.
We'll see some more moves,
information, all those good things for it.
They announced the collector's edition. I'm gonna let you talk about that.
Yes. So the collector's edition, they showed it. My man came out on stage. He was on stage, had nothing in his hand. They switched over, showed the collector's, and then he came back and he has like Scorpion's head in his hand. Like
he did. His
full
hood and his mask.
the mask and everything on. So you couldn't necessarily tell if it was like, oh, you could take the mask off and wear it, or if it's just like a display of Scorpion. Either way,
I seriously doubt you can. I'm sure somebody will take it off. I'm sure somebody will take it apart.
But either way, it looks absolutely dope.
It does.
And it looks like it's made by the same. What was it? Course. It looks like
probably.
It looks like it's made by the same ones who did the collectors for MK10, which made the dope Scorpion statue in there. Man. Yeah, you thinking about getting yourself a collector's edition now?
Thinking about it, yeah, but only because they didn't announce the price yet. I mean, I'm keeping it a stack. Like, the only reason why I'm currently thinking about it is because they didn't announce the price, which I'm sure was on purpose.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure it was on purpose. But you know, I'm at this place now. I don't do physical copies of games.
No, I understand.
I'm a digital dude, so I have to see what I'm really looking at. Like, because if it's gonna force me into getting a physical copy of the game, there's no way I'm doing it. I will totally not do that.
The only thing I hope is this is becoming very consistent now with a lot of these collector's editions that come out, where like the DLC packages are not included with it because of such, like, say, Scorpion's head in there. Like, that's the one piece that I really want to know is if you're going to be able to get the DLC with it, or if this is still going to be a whole separate purchase of it.
I mean, whatever.
It's a small thing, but it's like...
It's not. It's really not a small thing. Like, it should be in there. Like, I don't know why you really wouldn't get that, but, you know, whatever. These things.
Things.
People. But we also learned that pre-orders, we knew that if you pre-ordered, you got Shao Kahn.
Right off the break.
But now we also know that pre-ordering any version of the game not only gives you Shao Kahn, but also gives you access to the beta.
Yosh.
Now, the beta is going to happen basically a month ahead of time. So that's March 28th is when the beta launches. So, yeah, I'm feeling like the time with the beta, again, it's probably only going to be multiplayer. Doesn't mean much to me.
I'll be on it.
I know.
Yeah, I'll be on it.
I know you will. But again, if I can't carry over my progress,
it doesn't really even start over again.
like especially with it only being like a month out.
Right.
Like, I gotta understand if like there was a lot they needed to tweak or something like that in between that time. Now, if you get something for playing in a beta, like if they give you something special like in game for playing in a beta, they might have me. I might be had. So let me ask you this: of the characters that were revealed, who are you most excited to play with?
Garrus.
Okay.
It looks like he's going to be a problem.
Does.
And Baraka, just for the sheer fact that we haven't been able to use Baraka in forever now.
You're right.
But definitely the two of them. I mean, granted, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, they look the same, but they got different moves a little bit. Yeah. So it's like a lot of the people that used to play with them, you know, are they going to have to kind of revamp the way that they play with Scorpion and Sub-Zero? Or I know they said a lot of the controls are the same.
Yo, listen.
But
they said that Sub-Zero no longer has an ice clone. At all. At all.
That ruins some people's gameplays right there. That ruins a lot.
They might have to change that. Like, it's gonna be some upset people.
At least maybe add another version of him. Maybe that's one of his move sets, but
nah, bro.
Yeah, that's gonna upset a lot of people.
Let me tell you something. In MKX, I really started to dig Jackie Briggs.
Okay.
I was really digging like, I just like her fighting style. I like Cassie too, though. Sonya in this appears to be a combination of the two of them.
Yeah, you know, you're right about that.
Looking at her fighting and her abilities, what she does, like where Cassie in X was a combination of Johnny, it seemed like, and Sonya. Sonya in this one being the Jackie and Cassie is kind of like, she's a threat. She's a threat. Like, she's clearly not going to be as strong as some other characters.
Right.
But she is strong. She's fast. she has. I mean, she can play the away game, but her up close game is disgusting
just as bad
too.
as well too.
She might be a problem, bruh. Like, and I'm not traditionally. I don't really like Sonya. Like, she's not. Even going all the way back to like MK1, like, would I use her? Sure. Could I use her? Sure. But like, did I want to? Not really. I've traditionally been more of a fan, at least as far as the female characters are concerned, like Katana. I dig. I like Jade. I like Melina. Sonya just kind of didn't do it for me until MKX. She was kind of dope in MKX, but she wasn't better than Cassie, and she wasn't better than Jackie. So, so like Sonya kind of, and the fact they revealed her now makes it seem like her role in this game, at least in the story, is going to be big. Like Cassie's role in the last game was pretty big. Yeah, like, she was really the one, which is disgusting, but she was the one. Sonya being involved in this, we have no idea how the history gets rewritten, right? Or what's going to happen time wise, but it also opens it up for us to see anybody. Like the fact that Shao Kahn is in this means that Kentaro can be in this joint. I mean, go deep. Goro was in the last joint. Shiva could be in this joint.
We got a lot of characters. We got a lot of spaces to fill up on that board.
There are things that can happen in this game. Like, I'm super excited. Who do you think is the next character we get to see? Who's the first reveal? Alright, hold on. Let's do this. Is the next character reveal, is it a character we already know, or is it somebody new?
I think we'll get someone that we know first.
Okay.
I don't think. Yeah, I think it's gonna be someone that we know already. Because I don't think they want to let too many of the new characters out of the bag just yet.
I don't think it'll matter. They're gonna say everybody.
Oh, they're gonna. As soon as that board's gonna light up. But I think it's gonna be someone that everyone knows and loves. I think they wanna put that out there that you're gonna have a lot of these characters that you've grown and used throughout the years. And maybe another return. Because I mean,
who, Cabal?
Maybe Cabal.
I mean, it could happen.
It could happen.
It could happen.
I don't know. We got a lot. We got a lot, but there's still a lot more for us to find out.
Alright, well look. When we know more, you'll know more because we're going to talk about it.
We're going to talk about it.
For now, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and talk about this Broly.
Broly!
I like that.
Loading snacks.
What's going on, everybody? Your boy Sin is still here at MagFest 2019.
MagFest!
Yes. And I literally saw something that blew my mind, and I couldn't believe it hasn't been done until now, and I have to share this with you all. So please, my man Andrew, please introduce what this is.
Hey guys.
And who you are to everybody.
Sure. So I'm Andrew from Juncture Media, and this is our first game called Avaria Versus. I like to describe it as old school Final Fantasy, but PvP. So it's a turn-based battle system, 1 versus 1 game.
If you all hear that, like even when I brought the crew around, they did the exact reaction I had. As simple as this sounds like it should have been done, what made you jump at it?
Just, like I grew up playing Final Fantasy and all the old school JRPGs, and like I was saying to you before, I didn't understand why I couldn't take my memory card and bring it over to my friend's house and battle our parties against each other. So, I was working in the music industry before I started making this game, and I just was still realizing that nobody was doing it, and I was like, fuck it, I need a change. And so we're making this game, and that's why we're bringing it into the world now.
Okay, so is there a story background to the game? Okay, so tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, so actually before we started making this game, I spent a year building the characters and the story and the lore for Avaria. And so our first game is Avaria Versus, and then we're also working on a story game called Avaria Ghost of the Immortal. And just like we were also talking about, we're removing all the stuff about JRPGs that we don't like out of the game. So we're taking out of the grinding, taking out of this stuff and just trying to distill it down to like cool battles, little bit of story, back to another battle, and like a short JRPG experience. So that's what we're trying to do with our story games.
Okay, now I know how we feel about it.
Yeah.
What has the response been from MagFest about this?
So this is actually our third MagFest. Okay. So the very first time we showed the game was at MagFest 3 years ago. That was like our debut. And so we have a cool tournament every year here at MagFest, and I just love hearing the feedback, exactly what you were saying. People come up to me and say like, dude, I can't believe this game doesn't exist. And so that's like my favorite thing to hear, because when people get it, they get it. Like people walk by and like they read it and they're like, wait, is that what I think it is? And I'm always like standing there and I'm like, yes, it is what you think it is. You know? Yeah.
All right, and I see you're holding a big tournament going on right now.
Yeah.
To help push the game. So talk a little bit about what's going on with the tournament.
So we just launched our Season 1 competitive schedule. It's a brand new thing. You can read the schedule online. The first event was here at MagFest this year. It is a global qualifier. So if you win a match while you're at a convention with us, you qualify for the championship, which is happening in April. And all these tournaments you can participate from at home. All you got to do is own a copy of the game, and you can be winning money playing Mario Versus.
That is awesome. How'd you hear about MagFest? Just curious.
No, what'd you say?
How'd you hear about MagFest?
Well, I lived in Brooklyn for about 12 years, and so I started hearing about it the first few years I was living in the city, and I think this is my 6th or 7th MagFest. So, you know, I attended as just a fan for the first few years because I heard people coming here, and then now we've shown the game the last 3 years. Now I want to go back to just being a fan again, because now I'm standing here the whole time, and you guys all got to come to me, you know?
And how long did it take you to get this product to where it is right now?
So we've been working on it, well, I worked on it by myself for about 1.5 years. No coding, just like I said, like the planning, like the battle system, and like the heroes, all that stuff. And then with a team, we've been coding it for about 3 years, but it's part-time, you know? So if we would have been all working full-time, we'd be a little bit further, but we all got normal jobs, got to pay bills just like everybody else, and then do this on the side.
Okay, now do you have dreams in the future to bring this to consoles? Or
yeah,
PC? Okay.
Totally. So we built it in Unity 3D, which is very friendly to be able to port the game. So we want to start on Steam just because it's the easiest for us to like learn. So once the game gets solid enough on Steam, then we're going to start porting to consoles as well. We're probably going to start with Xbox, then we're going to move to Switch, and then PlayStation. If we're lucky, you know. So like if everything goes to plan, then that's what it'll be.
This product, I don't think it's a. I think that's a good strategy.
Well, thanks. Thank you.
Do us a favor. Let everybody at home know where they can follow Mario Versus and get a copy of it.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so join our Discord. That's the best place. That's discord.gg/Avaria. AVARIA. And then we're on Twitter and Instagram. You can find us there, and also our website is a good spot. Wishlist us on Steam right now. That's what you can do to help us out. Thank you.
Hey, look, definitely appreciate it.
Sweet, man.
We know we gotta get out of here. We're winding down here. Y'all know what it is. I'm Sin, and I'm out.
Welcome back, snackers and snackettes.
Yeah.
Loading Snacks Weekly. Let's talk a little bit about anime.
Yeah.
You're an anime guy.
I love anime.
You do. I like anime.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of respect for anime.
Gotcha.
But I don't watch a lot of it anymore. There was a time I was like into it. Like into it.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's kind of like, alright.
Yeah.
But that might be because it kind of got regular. We'll talk about that in a minute. You went and saw the new Dragon Ball movie.
Yes.
In the theater.
In the theater.
Talk to me about this experience. Not the theater itself.
I get you.
Because apparently there was a fiasco.
That was a whole thing.
We won't get into that.
But Dragon Ball Super Broly. So
Dragon Ball Super Broly.
Yep.
What does that mean?
So Super is just the title. So what they did was, a lot of the games that used to come out back in the day always had the Super name in the title. When they named the newer series, they named Dragon Ball Super.
Dragon Ball Super, right.
Kind of just took it from the beginning and put it at the end.
But what's different about this Broly film from the last Broly film?
So this Broly film is pretty much a retelling, pretty much of Broly's origin. Honestly, the whole Saiyan race origin to begin with.
Now, the original Broly story technically is not canonical.
Not at all.
So, this makes him canon.
This officially makes Broly canon.
Got it.
So, with what they did, like, enjoyed the movie from top to bottom.
Okay.
Any person that enjoyed Dragon Ball will absolutely love everything that they have to offer from Dragon Ball Broly.
Okay.
The story initially, it kind of starts off slow. Just because they are reintroducing you to how the whole Saiyan origins and how everything began.
So it's all stuff you know already.
Kind of, so more or less, but kind of filling in some pieces that you never see. You know, actually, you know.
Isn't that what anime is every episode though? Don't they basically give you a bunch of like fill you in and keep 20 going. Episodes and then give you
they
like
kind of sum it up.
Okay.
They kind of sum it up.
Okay.
But some things you've never seen, like you actually Bardock, of course, the father of Goku. We actually get to actually see him and kind of move along with him for a little bit of the actual beginning of the movie. So we had the same thing in the movie Bardock, the father of Goku, which same way it's not canon, but it's kind of just telling his story. But you really get to see him, you know, as a father, which was kind of
interesting. Is this replacing that as well?
It pretty much, it takes place of that as well too.
Okay.
But aside from the beginning, you know, being a little bit slow, just trying to tell the story, it makes up with the action tenfold when it gets time for it.
Okay. So, like, how far in do we have to get before the action really gets popping? How long is the movie?
Movie about an hour 20, probably hour 20, hour 30. I would say the first 20, 25, 30 minutes is probably just all about the Saiyan origin, what happens to Planet Vegeta, how Broly and his father get separated. Like, literally, that's the whole beginning of it.
Okay.
Then, pretty much, they do a time skip. They kind of do, like, a fast track through literally the whole Dragon Ball Z saga. Like, they show, like, little images, like, Goku fighting Vegeta for the first time, them being on Planet Namek, Majin Buu, Cell. They kind of run through the whole thing. Exactly. Okay. Show the pieces of Super, turn them into Power, then it just jumps right into the story from there.
Okay. So, let me ask you this. As a person who likes and respects anime, but is a hater of episodic anime, how many episodes will this movie be broken into?
Jesus. If...
Why you ain't call on the Lord, though? So...
what we've seen, what they did with Battle of Gods in Resurrection After, they did incorporate it into it.
Correct. They were what? Like, weren't they only like 3 or 4 episodes apiece, or were they more than that?
No, well, it was the movie.
Yeah.
But then when they broke into the episodes, it was like 20 episodes for each one of them. It was like 20 episodes for...
That's what I'm talking about,
The only thing I'll say is when they did it, they did change a couple things that didn't happen in the movie, which was kind of cool.
How was that cool?
Like,
you mean, wait, stuff that didn't happen or stuff you didn't see?
You didn't see it in the movie.
Okay. Alright. Like, it was happening... in the background.
Well, no, like they spoiler for Dragon Ball Super.
We don't care. Do it.
In the movie Resurrection F, when Frieza came back, there was no Captain Ginyu. Got on my shirt.
Right, I know who Captain Ginyu is.
I just had to make sure.
Nah, I'm familiar with the Ginyu Force. Like,
in the show,
Sin made me watch it. I watched it.
In the show
on VHS.
I own those still too. They actually brought Captain Ginyu back. So you know he went.
So that didn't happen in the movie, but it happened in the show.
It happened in the show.
Why would they do that?
It was, I don't know if this was just to bring him back, just to write him off. Because literally, they brought him back and they killed him. Literally, he came back.
Right.
Vegeta realized who he was and just wiped him from the board as soon as he realized it. He was like, nope, not happening.
Okay.
But if they do decide to do the same thing with this into the show, it could be like probably like another 20 episodes or something. I kind of don't want them to do it, but seeing as what they did in the past,
they're going to.
They're probably going to do it.
They have to. All right. So listen, all right. So let's talk for a second about because this movie being shown in the theaters is a big deal.
It's a big
deal here in the U.S. and it's been happening more and more often.
Yep.
Where do you think that trend is coming from? Like, these are generally like one-off showings. Like, it's for a weekend or it's a single day. It's not like the movie is getting like a run like a normal movie gets for us or whatever. But still, the fact that it's being shown on the big screen, and that they're making a ton of money.
And right now, like it's #1 movie in America right now.
Right. It's stupid. Like, that's just stupid.
It's like,
but it also, So the question, there's a couple of things there. One, I mean, when you talk statistics, again, statistics can be molded any way
you want to do it. Right? That's true too.
But when you look at it, okay, it's the #1 movie in America, but people know they only have a couple days to do it.
And
like, you gotta go do it right here, right now, or that's it. And with other movies, people know, like, I'll go wait till the crowds die down and I'll go see it next week or whatever.
Right.
This is also a phenomenon that's kind of like, we go to Comic-Cons, and like, for the regular public, like, they don't even know Comic-Cons exist, even though they happen like in their own neighborhood,
right,
at the hotel
backyard.
down the street from them or whatever. Like, they have no idea that these things happen, right? And that there are all these people out there that are just like their friends or just like their kids or whatever, right? But like, this is one of those things where, like, when it gets announced and people decide to do it, it's a coming together of like-minded people who all want to do and see the same thing. It's very akin to, like, the opening night of a Star Wars movie or the opening night of a MCU movie or whatever, right? So, where do you think this trend is coming from? I have my own ideas. I just want to know what you think.
I mean, just seeing, like, anime as a whole, it's become more popular. Like, in the past few years, like, we've seen anime in places we never thought we possibly would see, like Goku, like, for example. Theaters one. Like, Goku, Pokemon, they getting floats in Thanksgiving Day parades.
Correct.
You're seeing, of course, like, people in our age range, but then you're starting to see kids that are actually starting to become more involved with this type of stuff now.
Right.
Like, Dragon Ball came out in the 80s when it originally dropped out. But you're seeing people going back and actually watching it, and so they can get caught up to the point now.
Right.
And the other piece of it too is, when we watched a lot of it, we were young. Now we have money, and now we can spend said money on this type of thing.
Right. That, I think, is a lot of where it's coming from. I think that your generation, which is not my generation,
there's a gap.
It's not, technically. There's a gap there, right? My generation did not grow up on anime. My generation grew up on regular Saturday morning cartoons as done by, like, American, you know what I mean? Thundercats and He-Man and Transformers and G.I. Joe and Saturday morning cartoons. You guys grew up on Toonami.
Yep.
Like, for us, we went home after school, we watched Fox Kids. Y'all went home after school and watched Toonami. So, things that we were already familiar with, like, if you were in my age range and you knew what anime was, you guys were being exposed to that at a very young age, the way that a lot of kids in Japan grew up on that stuff, right? For us, when that stuff hit Toonami, we were kind of like in this place where we were excited that it was being done, but we also were like, this is a very watered down American version of this.
And that is true too.
We weren't as interested in it. But y'all didn't know any better.
I didn't know. No.
You know what I mean? Your generation literally grew up on Pokemon. Well, that's not a thing for us. You know what I mean? And so, by the time Pokemon really hit, we were adults. You know what I mean? And so, I think a lot of this comes from the fact that now you have people who are raising children on the anime that they grew up on. You know what I mean? Where, like, I kind of force-fed my kids Transformers. It is what it is, right? And now we're seeing even a resurgence of, like, She-Ra is back on Netflix or whatever, right? But anime, as far as, like, Netflix is concerned, like, Netflix is dropping anime left and right like it's nothing, and a lot of it ain't even close to being new.
Nope.
It's old stuff, but it's new to everybody else. And so it's like this whole world that's being introduced to a younger generation. And what I see happening is anime is becoming normal.
Yep.
It's not becoming mainstream. It's becoming normal. A lot of the cartoons that kids watch on Cartoon Network now are very heavily anime influenced.
Yep. By
comparison. We had some of that. Thundercats and Transformers are definitely anime influenced. We didn't know the difference, you know what I'm saying, at the time or whatever. But they completely changed those characters and their names and who they were or whatever. They didn't do that for you all so much. They watered down the Japanese version to make it palatable and acceptable for the censors on our TV. But I think, excuse me, I think now what's happening is the market is being seen as viable
Yep.
because y'all have money.
Yes, because we have money now.
And you want to see it. You want it to happen. So, I think that it is really it's taken 20 years. Or a little bit more. But it's taken 20 years for it to get to the point where something like this could happen. And it's only a matter of time, in my opinion, before something that doesn't get released anywhere else, or hasn't, or won't be released, somewhere else first, to hit here, or we get it day and date, even if it's not something that runs long term,
right?
The way some other stuff does. So I think it's really super interesting. What do you think we'll see next?
There's so much anime out right now. Like, honestly, there's no telling. Like, actually, no, I'll take that back. It's an anime called it's called the Fate series. What's called? Apparently, it's getting a U.S. release. Apparently, it's another big anime. This is one that I haven't gotten into.
Okay.
But it's getting a North American release.
Right.
Not sure like if it's gonna be on the level of what Dragon Ball is at right now. Like, if you were lucky, day one, you were able to see it in IMAX. They only put it in IMAX day one, which I really wish they would have put it in multiples. The issue with that was there was barely any theaters showing it. Like, the closest one to us that would have shown it in IMAX was almost an hour away. Now, had I known it beforehand, I could have planned accordingly.
You would have did.
I most certainly would have done it. I would have done it. Just for the sheer experience of seeing it on an IMAX screen. Now, don't get me wrong, on a normal movie theater screen, seeing Dragon Ball, it was still dope. But I'm looking forward to see what else we're gonna get. I'm sure we're gonna see another probably like 5 Dragon Ball movies probably before they decide to finally. They'll never do away with Dragon Ball. It's just gonna make too much money. But
well, you're right.
It's just gonna make too much money. But the door is open. I'm sure we're gonna see many more animes that are gonna start to show them, especially with the track record of this. My Hero Academia, which came out a couple months ago, which did very well. They actually had to keep adding days.
Yeah.
Which it was only slotted to be out maybe 3 or 4 days. It was like supposed to be like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday type thing. But then they ended up stretching like for a whole entire another week.
Yeah. That joint made a ridiculous amount of money.
And so that, of course, is in the top. That's in the top 10, the top 5, I think, if I'm not mistaken, of animes released in the U.S. Dragon Ball right now is still sitting in the top 10. I'm not sure it's cracked whatever is in the top few right now, but My Hero has done that.
Yeah. That joint is on the top of most people's hit list. And we're seeing a ridiculous amount of cosplay for it.
Oh, yeah.
But somewhere in there, like those, like Naruto and Dragon Ball, as far as the U.S. is concerned, have always kind of said, like, as far as anime, I would say that Naruto, Dragon Ball, and Pokemon are the top joints. But My Hero is really pushing, like, as far as knowledge base and just sheer, like, recognition, like, in terms of characters that people recognize immediately.
Yep.
Like, Naruto, Pokemon, and Dragon Ball are easily at the top in the U.S. as far as, like, oh, I know who that is. Yep. Like, little kids know
exactly who they want to see.
Pika freaking Chew. Know that dude. And they know Goku.
Straight up.
You know what I mean? So, like, My Hero might have some fight on his hand, but look, man, that Jump Force is going to drop. And I think that's going to change a lot of what people are familiar with. I think that is really going to have a major effect on the rest of the landscape.
That's 50 years worth of anime in one game, pretty much.
No doubt. That's a lot, man. That's a lot, bruh. Okay, so you tell us what you think is going to happen next as far as anime. What's the next big anime you want to see in the theaters? Did you go see this one? Will you go see the next one? While you're thinking about that and putting something in the comments, make sure that you're following us across all social media. Make sure you like, share, and you subscribe. And don't forget to go over to patreon.com/loadingsnacks, where you can graciously become a patron of ours, and that will give you access to some additional content like what's getting ready to happen as we shut this part down and go into our post-show content. We're going to discuss a couple of things. Again, you'll have early access to a few other things. Only takes a couple dollars. Any little bit helps. That's for sure. With that, we're going to slide out of here. Toodles and loos.